Hi, I'm Kimberly with Astrology Bodies, and today's video is about Sagittarius. Hi, I'm Kimberly, and this is Hi, I'm Kimberly with Astrology Bodies, and today's video is about health and wellness for the Sagittarius season. Hi, I'm Kimberly with Astrology Bodies, and today's video is about health and wellness for the Sagittarius season. So the sun is just about to go into Sagittarius, and this video is going to cover that month just of sun and Sagittarius. And we're going to talk about Sagittarius from a health perspective. And we're going to talk about Sagittarius from a health perspective. So that means we're going to talk about the body areas that Sagittarius rules and any so we're going to talk about Sagittarius from a health perspective. So for the month from now until about December 21st, the sun is in Sagittarius, and this faster moving planets like Mercury, Venus are really close to the sun, and they go through Sagittarius right around the time that the sun does. So not always at the same time, but at least they overlap a little bit. And so we're going to talk about Sagittarius, and it rules over a certain part of the body, and that is the pelvis, the hips, the thighs, the sciatic nerve, and the central nervous system. And because of this, it rules over locomotion. In other words, how our bodies move physically, how our legs move, and the quality of that coming from the pelvis. So it rules over coordination as well. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it's mutable. And mutable just means it's a kind of changing element. Sagittarius comes at the end of autumn, and at the last sign of every season is a mutable sign. So Sagittarius is fire, and it kind of, a good way to describe it is wildfire, kind of all over, like kind of scattered all over, changing fire. Whereas like Aries is fire, but it's like kind of the ignition and the start of a fire, like when you light the fire. And then Leo is the other fire sign, which is a fixed sign. So it's like the fire is built, and now you're just keeping it steady, and it's those embers underneath that keep it hot, keep the fire going, and that intensity, and so that intensity, that is so that intensity and it's that stable intensity of a fire that warms you when you stand next to it. So we're going to go into looking at the chart. So I have a few charts set up here. The first one here is the ingress, or the first day that the sun goes into Sagittarius. It's right here. And so you can see there's some other things nearby. Mercury is close behind. It's going to go in Sagittarius during the month. And Mars is over here. It takes a little longer. Yeah, it'll happen later on. But Venus has already moved on. Venus was already in Sagittarius. It's moved on. Venus is starting to slow down, and it's going to come back over here. But right now, Sun, this is on the 21st. That's tomorrow. And what you also see is that it's right near the south node, this axis here, north and south node. And so right when it goes into Sagittarius, very soon after, it's going to conjunct the south node. And that is why we had a lunar eclipse just recently. Whenever the sun, whenever a full moon or new moon is really close to the node, you get an eclipse. So we just had that, and we're going to have another eclipse beginning of December. But right now, let's talk about before that eclipse happened, the sun conjoins the south node, and south node is a depleting energy. So health and wellness perspective means low vitality. You're not going to have as much energy, which is a bummer because we haven't had much fire lately. For a couple of months, we've hardly had any fire. Recently, we had Venus and Sag, and it was the only one. Now we got Sun in here. So a few days into Sagittarius, low energy. Once it gets far enough away from the nodes, then that fire, we'll be able to use that fire to have more energy, more inspiration, more get up and go to take care of our health, among other things. So let me bring up. So this one is more specific. These are all set up for Los Angeles. That's why it's in a different part of the wheel. But here, this is the 22nd. It's a day before it goes conjunct. So November 23rd, low energy, probably lasting until the 24th at least. And now we're going to go on to the next thing. So I'm not bringing up every aspect for this season here. I'm just picking out the ones that stand out the most. We have Neptune going direct. So that's on December 1st. So this is important from a health perspective because Neptune can bring murky conditions or environment, which means things are more mysterious. It's harder to figure things out when Neptune is retrograde, especially if it's landing in a sensitive part in your chart. So Neptune going direct means there's if anything is mysterious or you're not sure of a cause, like if you have a symptom and you don't know where it came from, that will definitely become more apparent now. So while it's going direct, it is also in a favorable sextile aspect to Venus and Pluto here, while it's involved in a trine to Mars. So that is all very helpful. So Neptune going direct with these easy aspects definitely helps. And you can see by this time, the sun has moved past the nodes, just about to, we just had a conjunction, Saturn and Mercury. So now we have fire here and we're able to utilize that. Even if it's a little bit scattered because it's Sagittarius, is easily excitable, especially during this time near the nodes. I mentioned that Sag rules the sciatic nerve and the central nervous system. So It affects the nerves coming from the central nervous system outward to the periphery. So from your center out, these nerves going outward. So these are more excitable right now. In other words, maybe too much excitement or enthusiasm, maybe because we haven't had this fire element for a couple months now. So people may be getting a little too worked up, a little bit too excited, maybe accident prone. That's Sagittarius. And since we have Mars coming into Sagittarius soon, it's not there yet, but it is coming there. So be more careful, more aware of your coordination, just moving around in your home, driving, wherever. So next one, I'm going to talk about Venus and Pluto. Venus and Pluto. So this happens every year, but this year is special because Venus is really slow. It's stationing. It's about to change direction and go backwards, go back towards the sun. So it's barely moving and it conjuncts Pluto at the same time. And what did I want to say? So at least it has, it's a little separated, but it's in a sextile aspect, an easier aspect with Mars. And what we also have here is a moon conjunct Neptune and a favorable aspect. So this is helpful. We just got this going direct. The moon comes along to trigger it. So there could be some enlightened an epiphany or some kind of awareness that happens here, especially with Pluto can unearth things, bring things out that were hidden and bring it up. So we got Venus, so it could have to do with more recreational activities, because Venus likes to have a good time. Venus is pretty lax and lazy. And I did mention last month that Venus and Capricorn is a good time to rehab your knees or any bone issues, because bones is Capricorn and knees. And Venus here brings an easier time. So like paying attention and caring for your knees, Venus here. So maybe at this configuration, there will be more awareness of the problem that's been happening. So maybe you'll make some headway in any rehab on the knees or whatever rehab you may be doing. Now for moving on. So this is the middle of December. Mars and the nodes. So here's Mars. It has just gone into Sagittarius, and that's that accident prone energy that I talked about, conjuncting the south node. So again, south node is depleting energy. Mars is activity, courage, drive. So that's why I say be careful moving around. You may not be as coordinated as normal here. So that's going to last a few days. Mars is a little slower. So for this week, the midweek of December, take it a little more easy physically. It's a good time to bring up the exercise that I think is good for this season, this year, is doing the squats, however it works for you, assuming your knees are okay with this. There's all different types of squats. You can coordinate it with a little leg lift, like a side leg lift that will force you to balance a little bit, challenge your balance. But you have to be careful. But squatting, I suggest more than lunging, because you're symmetrical and you're lowering down on both legs. Whereas lunging, your pelvis has to rotate when you lunge. And because of the Sag energy being a little bit more unstable, especially with Mars being close to that south node, probably better to stick with a straightforward squat. Even if you are doing that deep squat or just a regular squat, keeping your weight equal and paying attention to anything in the pelvis. This is a good time to watch yourself in the mirror doing a squat and noticing if you're favoring one leg, that kind of thing. So squats for Sagittarius season this year. Then the other thing I wanted to bring up, this is happening later on in December, so it's part of Capricorn season, but they're already in range. All year long, we've been dealing with Saturn square. Here's the square right here to Uranus. These are really slow moving planets, fixed energy, Taurus and Aquarius. So a lot of tension here. Probably been noticing that all year long. It's gonna be triggered. Well, it's triggering right here in the middle of the month because of moon. And this square is close, not exact. Later in December, this 10 is going to become 11, and this is 11. So they'll be exact later this month. So that is being triggered at the same time that we got the Mars and nodes combined together. So I would say that the mutable signs, Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, are the ones most prone to any kind of nerve issues, whether it's anxiety or an actual nerve in your body. So let's see. And the fixed signs, of course, are being triggered because of the Saturn Uranus, but also because of the eclipse we just had was in fixed signs as well. So I mentioned in my November overview that we had a lot of fixed energy happening, a lot of tension. The middle of the month was the most stressful, most tense. And so fixed signs are extra tight, extra stressed, extra overwhelmed. So I just want to go over the eclipse and hold on. So I just want to go over the eclipse really quick. This is the second one of the series, December 3rd or 4th, Sun and Moon, Solar Eclipse, and Sagittarius. It's going to be at 12 degrees. So it's really close to Mercury. And it's probably good that Mars isn't actually in Sagittarius yet. So this just creates more. Mercury has to do with the nerves, anxiety, how your thinking processes, how you communicate. So with the Sagittarius here and the eclipse, definitely more difficult thinking processes, communicating, more anxiety, that kind of thing. It also can mean, because eclipses can be new beginnings, it can also mean like could also mean a new beginning, like you've now have started a new cycle of dealing with your anxiety. Now maybe you have figured out what works for you in your anxiety or your thinking processes. So that's the eclipse at the beginning of December. It's all ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules Sag, and Jupiter is over here in Saturn. So Saturn is not, Jupiter's not that strong right now. It's ruled by Saturn. So it's not as beneficial as usual. But it is still considered a favorable or lucky planet. So Eclipses are just new endings, new beginnings. Doesn't have to be bad, could be good. And even if it looks bad, it's probably for the best. So that's at 12 Sag. So that is the overview for health and wellness for Sagittarius season. So please like this video and subscribe. I'll do this every month, health and wellness for each season. And so that happens about the third week of the month. And I always put up before the first of the month, the overview, general overview for the signs and horoscopes for the signs for each month. And then I try to fit in some extra ones during the month that will help whatever is going on, whatever emphasized that's important. All right, thank you.